Today, we're going to be building an AI app that allows us to detect anything with our camera. We're going to be using OpenAI's new Vision API to allow us to scan things around our house. So first, let me show you how it works. Okay, so it's Mike from the future, and I just want to demo this little app that I built out that we're going to be making in this video. If I were to flip the camera and then take a picture of, let's just say, this cup and my chapstick here, and take a picture and wait a couple seconds, it'll tell us a list of everything that's in our image. So we have a Dell monitor, a blue plastic cup with some liquid, a tube of Burt's Bees, a computer mouse, only partially visible, a black desk or table service. So basically describing what's in the image. I can even go back, flip the camera around, take a picture of myself, and then wait a couple seconds, and it will describe a couple things that are in the picture, like a ceiling fan, a person, a white t-shirt, and a window. We're gonna be building this all with ChatGPT and AI. You're not gonna need to know how to code really at all. I'm gonna hold your hand and show you my process of how I build this and how you can do the same if you wanna follow along. You can build this app for both iOS and Android, so as long as you have a computer and a phone, this will work for you. So enough talk, let's get into building this AI detection app. So I'm over on VS Code, and what we're gonna be doing in order to get an app running on our phone is actually by using one of the very popular app building libraries called Expo. Expo allows us to build cross-platform native apps, so for iOS and Android, all in one code base built on React. So to start, I'm gonna head on over to ChatGPT and we're gonna hit it with a build me a simple Expo app. So it's going to tell us to install Node. I should have mentioned that before. If you don't have Node, make sure to install Node from the Node.js website. This will allow us to install our JavaScript libraries. It also tells us to install the Expo CLI. But I actually think what's going to happen here is if we come into VS Code, make a new terminal, and paste our code once we have Node installed, I think it might actually tell us that it's old. Okay, so it seemed to have worked, but it does mention this thing at the bottom here. The Expo CLI has been suppressed by npx Expo. So they've made a couple changes to the way it works, so it might not be exactly the same as the results you get in ChatGPT. So I just want to let you guys know, because in case you do go and start coding other things, it might be a little bit wrong. But from here, we can just type in Expo init detector app. And yeah, it tells us the global Expo CLI package has been depreciated. We need to use npx Expo and then the command. So it's just something to keep in mind when we're running commands. But if all goes well, it'll ask us to choose a template. I'll just click on enter for a blank one. Your project is ready. Sick. In order to get in our detection app, I'm actually going to cd into our detection app. I have a lot of directories here for detection app, but make sure you're in the folder that we just made here. And then from here, we can type in npx Expo run. npx Expo start. npx Expo run is if you want to run it locally on a platform. We're going to use npx Expo start here to get this, which is the Metro bundler, which is what we want. So what it basically does is it puts our app on a local server on our Wi-Fi network. And it gives us this QR code that we can then access it with on our phone. So if I head on over to my phone and I type in Expo, you need to download the Expo app there, the Expo Go app. And once you have the Expo Go app installed, we can then just simply scan the QR code on here, and then it will say open in Expo Go, and it will open up my phone. You'll see it found my phone, it built the project, and if we come over here, it says open up app.js and start working on your app. From here, we can edit this app.js here to do whatever we want. So if I want us to say like detector app and then save it, you'll notice it says detector app on my phone. And we basically have the beginnings of an app built out here. What we'll do is this. I'll come over to ChatGPT. I'll make a new window for this. I'll say, build me a simple Expo project with two screens. The first screen is a camera. It has a flip and take picture button for the entire screen. So we're basically saying we want the first screen that we load into is this camera screen. Then when it takes a picture, go to the image screen where it displays that image in the middle of the screen. So how this works is Expo is broken down into different screens. So we can have a screen for maybe if we want the user to kind of come to like a menu page. For this instance, we're going to make them start on the camera page. This will make more sense once the camera page is built out. And then after we take the picture, it'll send that picture over to the image image page, and then we'll use that image as our input for our API request when we do our AI detection. So I'm gonna enter this in and just see what it gives us. So it tells us to implement Expo, make our project, go into our application. So it tells us we need Expo cameras. So I'll copy Expo cameras. I'll Control C on our project here to stop the server and then paste in our new command. And that will give us camera capabilities in our application, just like that. So we have a new app.js. It has both the camera screen and the image screen built out here. So it gives us some code here that I'll copy over and I'll paste it into our app.js. So what this is doing, we're using React and we're importing some stuff from React Native. React Native is basically a framework to use React inside of applications. We're using the Expo camera and then just some more libraries from React. We have our little application here. It defines our first function as camera screen, which is our first stack screen here. Then it kind of returns out some HTML-esque file here for the camera, and then also has an image screen here, which is the second stack screen here, which displays the image looks like, and then there's some styles down here. So what I want to do actually is show you guys this. Can you separate this into 3 files? So what I want to happen is have an app.js file, which is like our main point to load our app into, and then we have our 2 separate screens, our camera screen and our image screen. And this will just make it a lot easier to manage if you want to change some of the functionality inside of each screen. Oh my, you've got to be kidding me. I pay good money for ChatGPT 4. You got to be kidding me. Okay, so we get app.js, camera.js, image screen.js, but of course it doesn't add anything. Say rewrite the image screen and camera screen with everything. Do not leave any placeholders. In the meantime, let's do this. We're gonna copy our app.js code, come over here and paste all of our app.js code into here. And then we're gonna make a new folder called screens. And this will be where we put our screens. So we can add our image screen, our camera screen, which will be image screen.js, camera screen.js. And then in our app.js, we just have to make sure we have the correct routing. We're in our app.js, when we run this code, we need to change this so that these are directed in our screens folder. So we can just do that by adding another screens right there. You can see it even pops up too. But we're just making this so it finds folder first before it imports these 2 components, right? And these 2 components are our 2 stack screens here from the earlier code. All we're doing is just kind of moving it around so it looks a bit nicer and it's easier to play around with. So we have our camera screen.js, which we can just pop right into here. That should be perfect. And then our image screen.js, which we can also copy and pop right into here. Boom, just like that. And then from here, new terminal, make sure we're in our app. I will cd into our folder, npx expo start. Let this boot up real quick, and then we'll be able to see our application, see how it looks. And let's give this a look together, shall we? So I'm brought with an error on my phone, not off to a good start. Let's see what the error is. Unable to resolve React Native from app.js. That blows. Let's just paste this back into here. I think what the error is, we need the navigation package from React. Yeah, we just need to install the navigation package. We'll copy the command. I'll stop the server, paste the command in there, give it a run. Also, let's also do the same for this one too. Right, okay, so I added both of the packages too. So we didn't have React Navigation Native, which I just added, and then also React Navigation Stack. So from here, we didn't have them, so we just imported that like so. We'll boot this up again. We do have some other options here with Expo. We can use Expo Go, which is the QR code, or if we do have like an emulator, we can use Android. Also web option, which I don't think works. I haven't really tested it. And then just some debugging options. I don't really ever play around with those, but I do scan the QR code. So if we head on over to our app, you'll see it prompts me on my phone, experience needs permission. So now it's asking for my camera. So I'll click on allow, and now look at that. We have me in my camera. We have our camera built out on our first screen, but the buttons do not look that good at all. To fix this, we're gonna head on over to the camera screen, right? And I'm gonna just copy all this. We're gonna say this, rewrite the code to make the buttons look nice, use emojis. So everything is the same here, but then this, that changes, Okay, fantastic. So now we have some new code here that I'll copy over. I'll come over to our return and then I'll paste that in there. npx expo start. Here we go. Look at, now we have our camera app built out, but it has the flip and the snap button on the bottom here. So you can kind of see me through the camera. Yeah, let's actually raise these up a little bit more. So I'm gonna edit the button container, styles.button container. So we want this button container to have a margin of 20. Let's add a margin bottom of 40. Oh, so it moved the buttons up a little bit, which is what I wanted to do. I'm gonna hit this 100. And now if we look at our little application here, it's just 2 buttons to flip and the camera. So if I click on flip, it flips it to the camera. There's you guys, say hi. And then if I flip this back, we can take a picture. So if I click on snap here, it'll take the picture and send it over to a new screen. So then from here, we can see our picture and then we can use this for our information for our API call when we're detecting what we're looking at. So we're going to come back into ChatGPT. I'll make a new window. I put in the original camera screen JS code, and then I said at the end, when it sends the image, can you make it send this API call and return the entire JSON below for this image screen? So I'm gonna put in the image screen and then say, and this is the API call. And what we're going to use is we're going to use the OpenAI documentation for their GPT-4 vision model. So over in their documentation, we're going to click on vision over here, and this will introduce us to the new vision model, which is GPT-4 vision preview. And it's basically like how you would use images inside ChatGPT, except in this case, we're using it via their API, so we can do things with it. And we're going to use this example here, which for you guys is probably on Python, but we're going to select curl, and we're going to want this curl command here. So we'll copy this over and then we'll come back to ChatGPT, paste in the API call, and let's just see what it gives us. Okay, so what it's doing is using Axios to do this. We want to change a couple of things with this. There's a couple of things wrong with this right off the bat that we're going to want to change. I kind of want to point out, first, we don't want to use Axios in this instance. It'll just make the project a bit more complicated than it needs to be. Sets up the API call, which is fine, and then displays the response. We're going to say, don't use Axios, use the original URL for the image, and hard code the API key variable. So what that will hopefully do, use fetch. So we want to use fetch. Fetch will just make this whole process a little bit easier. And then also we're going to need our open API key, which we'll just put directly inside of our code. Theoretically, if you were like publishing this on the App Store, you would want this to be in like its separate folder file. So if someone accessed your project, they wouldn't be able to see your API key. Right, okay. So I'm going to copy this code over that we just got, and then I'm going to paste this in the image screen. I think we need to change this photo into base 64. That's just kind of the way you're supposed to structure a image file when you send it through an API. I'll explain this more in a second, but for now, let's get our API key. If we head on over to OpenAI, we can come on into login, and then we'll come to this little key here and get our API keys. I'll make a new key. I'll call it detector and create new key. And we can just copy this key, and we will then be able to put that in here. And now we can start using ChatGPT for vision inside of our little app. So if I were to, for instance, come on our app, and if I took a picture, okay, yeah, so we get a response here. So we get a response as error message, invalid message. Yeah, so it didn't work. The image that we sent is not in the correct structure. And to fix this, we need to actually use some of the different ways of sending information. So if we go in the documentation here, we actually need to send the information like this. This is how we send images to ChatGPT for Vision Preview from our local, whatever kind of project we're building. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this part, go into ChatGPT, and then say, so I'm gonna say send the image the user just took in this format in the API call. Let's try this instead. So it actually wants me to update it in my camera screen, but we'll just say this. You say, can you do it in the image screen right before it makes the API call? Just wanna move this around. It probably would also still work, but right. So we're gonna use the URL that we just got from our file screen. And what that will ensure is that when we take the picture, it also gets shown shown, and then we get the response below it. Because what I think might happen if we put this in, it might send over the base 64 image data to the image screen and then just show the numbers and letters. We have a new function here that we'll use. I'll just copy the new function over and we'll use that here. And we'll save that. Make sure we add in our OpenAPI key again though. I want to console log this too, just to kind of show you guys what we're doing here. So I saved the code. I'm going to hop back on Expo. We have the same camera app as we have had before. And now if I were to take a picture here, it'll hopefully send it over and then give us our response for this picture. Look at that. So now we have our API call, and this says the image shows the back of a person who is wearing a blue t-shirt. Above them on the wall, there's a square shaped piece of abstract art, yada, 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 whole bunch of nonsense. And also what I want to show you guys too is this is what the base 64 data looks like for the image. So it's just a lot of text, but this is basically what an image looks like to a computer. And somehow this long string of text equals my arm. Okay, so what we'll do from here is I'll copy this over. Say, can you only show me the API content text from the API response and the text under the image? Assuming the content text is in a specific field in the response data. Okay, we're gonna try this. So we have our new JSON response here. Let's just put this in and see how it goes. Okay, so I put in here that I need this to console log the entire response that I get from the content inside. And then what I get is the entire text inside my console terminal here. I'll just copy all of this and then I'll just say in here, say, can you remove all the console logs and make the text under the image only the content text? So now that it has some sort of reference as to where the content text is in the API call, we can then tell it to set the text that's displayed below the image to be that text that it got in the console log. So the ChatGPT knows where that is, and now it will set that to the variable that gets displayed in the code. So if I paste this relevant snippet here, which is just this little section right here underneath the response in our const fetched data, this is all the same again. Here's our API call, and then we have to display that. So this is just the logic to get the correct information from the API call. We can now head back to our app here, right? And now if I take a picture of myself, come on, okay, kind of cringe, but whatever. You'll see it now comes up with the text for me. The image appears to show a young man who has taken a selfie. Now we have it so that the image is connected to the API on our app here. So we can head back here and do a couple tweaks to make this look better. We can make the image width to be, I don't know, like 500. And then I'm just gonna take this and put it back into here. And I'm gonna say, can you make it so I can scroll on the screen? So if we have lots of text, we'll be able to kind of move up and down on it. This is kind of the fun part where now we can edit the prompt here. So the way this API body is structured is we have our model and then our messages and then our tokens. The tokens mean how long we want the response to be. The model is the model we're using, GPT-4 Vision Preview, and our messages is what we're sending in our call. So we're sending the text, which is this prompt here, and then the image, which is the image URL that we got from here. So for this, we can make this whatever we want. So I'll start off with, how many fingers am I holding up? Just say the numerical number and then fingers. That's it. We can also add scroll view from React Native. So it looks like we just have to add this text around our return here. So I'll copy this, come back into here, and then instead of view, we'll just have this, scroll view. Oh, scroll view doesn't exist because we don't have it in here. We want to add scroll view from React Native, which is up here. So we'll pop that in there. So now we have scroll view in there. So now we'll be able to scroll on a response if it is longer than the screen that we're on. So now we have our new prompt, how many fingers am I holding up, and we can scroll. Let's give this a shot. Take a picture of 3 fingers. Should be able to determine if it'll focus. See at the bottom there, if the camera will focus, 3 fingers. Look at that. Let's make the text a little bit bigger. Let's come down to our text here, response text, font size. Let's make it 20. Is that gonna be big enough? Not really. Let's make it like 40. So now we have our finger detector. There's no way you can miss this now. 3 fingers. Look at that. So if I were to do this again, let's just try with 1 finger. Kind of a weird picture there. 1 finger. Let's try 4 4 side fingers. What? So I guess it doesn't find any fingers. Let's edit this a little bit more. So in case it doesn't find fingers, say don't find fingers. We'll say if you don't see fingers, say no fingers. And let's give this a shot. So if I take a picture of nothing, what's it gonna come up with? No fingers. And there's me. Right, so we have another one here. 4 fingers for the 4-finger picture. If I do my palm though, I don't know why, but it's not really working with my palm that well. 5 fingers, okay, I got that one correct. Guess how many fingers I'm holding up? 4 fingers, where did I get the 4th one from? But you get the idea. You can change the prompt for whatever you want to analyze the picture how you want. So we can detect if other things are around us. So let's have some fun here. You are an Oreo detector. If you see an Oreo, count how many there are. If not, tell me no Oreos were found. That's it. This is just an excuse for me to eat Oreos. So let's test this out. So I have a thing of Oreos here. All right, I'm just gonna do a screen recording. So we have our Oreos here. If I snap this picture, let's see. No Oreos were found. Are you kidding me? Maybe I have to have like the actual Oreo. Oh, the camera's so blurry. 1 Oreo is found. Okay. What if I tried 2 Oreos? What if I do like this, like sneaking behind the cup here? How many Oreos is it gonna find? There are 2 Oreos in the image. It's kind of goofy, right? What if I do like this? What if I open up the bag here? How many is it gonna count? No Oreos are found in the image. What do you mean there's none? There's like some in the bag. I will say though, the camera quality on this is not that good. Oreos are found in the image. However, due to the image being out of focus, I cannot accurately count the number of Oreos present. Okay, that's fair. I'll give it that one because I honestly couldn't either. But yeah, you get the idea. You can basically put the prompt in with whatever you want to detect anything you want with your camera. This was just a fun project that I had in mind that I really wanted to try out. You can even do like, this is a picture of my fridge, like tell me what I can make with the ingredients. You can make really specific ones for kind of any solution you want. And also you can even put this on the App Store. Expo allows you to put your apps both the iOS store and on the Google Play Store. So if you come up with something good enough, you can put it out there and maybe get some money from it. But if you want to know how to build a similar project without going through all the hoops of making a full-blown app, you can check out this video where I show you how to do the same thing but with pizza, all on a simple HTML page. So I'll see you guys over in that video. Oreos are just amazing, man. This is God's gifts right here.